Well, that's a wrap on the Raptors season. Game 7, round 1. Can't say I'm not impressed. Can't say I'm not actually quite satisfied with how the season went overall. We went into the season, lots of questions about this team, roster construction, this and that. Ingram, quickly, RJ, Yakov, Scottie, rookies, young players, all this and that. And I think the playoffs taught us more than enough, more than the regular season, as it usually does, because the playoffs are the most important time of the year. It's when the pressure is the highest, the games have the most value. And when it comes down to it, Scottie Barnes was the best player in the playoff series, where Harden played, Donovan Mitchell played, Jared Allen, Evan Mobley, Brandon Ingram, RJ. Scottie was by far the most dominant and the most consistent best player on both sides of the ball. Averaged, I believe, 24 points, 8.6 assists, I believe, and 6 rebounds on 50-38 shooting. Unfortunately, couldn't get it done in game 7. The second half was just atrocious. The Cavaliers went out on a quick 9-0 run after being tied at halftime, which is funny because we were tied in points overall in the first 6 games and halftime, completely tied. That third quarter was the third quarter of death. I believe we literally scored like, I don't even know, like 4 or 5 buckets. Yeah, the third quarter, we went 5 of 20 with 5 turnovers, 1 of 7 from 3, 8 of 12 from the line. Just unfortunate. Cavaliers went on that early run, 9-0 run, and then never looked back. They really upped their defensive pressure. Jared Allen had a crazy game, ended up with 22, 19, 2 assists, 2 steals, and 3 blocks on 7 of 11 shooting. That third quarter is really, he had 14 points and 10 rebounds in that third quarter, completely dominated us, 5 offensive and 5 defensive rebounds each. Yeah, that's what it really came down to. Fourth quarter, we couldn't do enough. I wasn't impressed with Scottie's performance in the second half. I feel like we could have got him the ball a bit more, but he was in foul trouble. RJ was quite atrocious in third quarter. And then, we kept passing to Shed, Jacoby, all these guys. Please keep making threes, and we didn't. It is what it is. Overall, a really good season. We got Scottie All-Star, Scottie hopefully maybe All-NBA, Brandon Ingram All-Star. But like, nobody picked us to win this series. I picked us to win this series, and even so, I was like a bit hesitant. The first 2 games really proved that. Cleveland's offense was just on another level than ours, but I believed we were in control of this series since game 3. Game 5 was really close. It just came down to another fourth quarter that we blew. Game 6 obviously was really close. It came down to that RJ shot. And then game 7 was tied until halftime, and then that third quarter killed us. But that's really impressive to this Cavaliers team that is supposed to be a contender when we do not have any Emmanuel Quickly in the series. We have Brandon Ingram, but he is practically a 0 or a negative when he's out there and does not play game 6 or 7. And then we have Jakob Poeltl, who is outplayed in several games, including in game 7. He is just not physically, his back problems. He can't catch the ball. He can't finish. He can't rebound at the level of the 100 million 4-year contract that is starting next season. That is a death wish. So yeah, all of that to say is that we pushed this team to 7 games with Scottie, CMB, RJ, who RJ was up and down in this series at different points, Shed, Jacoby. Yeah, like we had the most points per game from rookies and sophomores of any team in the playoffs. Really showed that our youth. Scottie and CMB really held us down the defensive end. Scottie had the most 150 points and 50 assists, youngest forward to do that. Only youngest one other than that was LeBron. So Scottie's going to be LeBron James, guys. Come on. But yeah, man, this offseason is going to be a huge one. It's going to be very important for this team because, again, we pushed this team to 7 games with Scottie and CMB being the best players. Brandon Ingram was awful. Quickly didn't play. Jakob was awful. I think that tells you who we should invest in and who we should look to move on from. Obviously, that's easier said than done. Obviously, this front office has never been super splashy, big moves. Um, other than the Kawhi move, I don't see that coming anytime soon. But yeah, this regular season, we were top 5 defense, which felt pretty fake. It was really on the back of Scottie. Our offense, half court offense, always a struggle, per usual. Nothing surprising there. But overall, I mean, 46 wins, I believe, surpassed my expectation. I expected them to be at least a 6 seed. They were a 6 seed. They were a 5 seed, actually. And in the playoffs, I just wanted to have an entertaining series, and I was thoroughly entertained. There was close games, there was ugly games, there was huge moments that RJ shot will forever be in the history books as just an amazing shot and an amazing moment for Raptors fans. And I know personally it was a great moment in my household. And yeah, I'm grateful for that, and I'm grateful for this season. But yeah, this off season, this summer, we got to make some moves. It's clear to me, Scottie is the real deal. And then on the Cavaliers side, they make it past. Everybody was picking them in 5, in 6, and we pushed them all the way to 7. Donovan Mitchell, James Harden, outside of the first 2 games, both of them really never had any amazing games, amazing performances. I mean, today, Jared Allen was their best player. Evan Mobley had a good game 5 and 6. Harden, Mitchell both struggled in terms of getting really started or having consistent rhythm in this series. Outside of the first 2 games, Harden at 18, 19, 23, 16, 18. Not bad. A lot of free throws from that. Donovan Mitchell in this game, 22 points, but 9 of 20. Had a pretty bad second quarter. All of this to say, that this Cavaliers team did not exceed expectations or really dominate. I felt that, the Raptors deserve to win this, obviously. I'm biased. I'm going to say that. But I just thought that we were the better team. We were in control. It is what it is. Cavaliers got to play the Pistons now. We can talk about the Pistons Magic real quick. I mean, Magic, the Pistons said, we're going to let Paolo score all your points and nobody else is going to get started. And that's what happened in a 116-94 victory. I mean, it was a pretty quick 20-point lead by halftime. Paolo with 38, 9, and 6 on 14 of 25. Not a bad game, but Desmond Bain had 16, Anthony Black had 11, Wendell Carter had 13, and then that's it. So, same offensive issues as always for the Magic, just struggling to score outside of Paolo. And when it is Paolo scoring, that's good because he eats up so much. He eats up so much of the shot clock and takes up so much of the time with the ball that nobody else on the team really gets started. Cade, 32 and 12. Tobias Harris, 30 points. Shout out to him. Jalen Duren finally had a really decent game, 15 and 15. Dennis Jenkins, 16 points. Asar Thompson, look out. If you thought Scottie on Harden and Mitchell and all that and CMB was rough, you got Asar Thompson on the way. Like, I don't expect Donovan Mitchell or James Harden to have a really good series in the next series anyway. I would pick Pistons in 6. I think that if they struggled with our defense, with our physicality, they might struggle with the Pistons, who are as physical, you know, as imposing, but have more people that are actually good defenders than us. And Cade, you know, I'm not sure who on the Pistons, sorry, I'm not sure who on the Cavaliers is really ready to hold down Cade. I don't know. And then, yeah, to talk about the other series real quick, I mean, Knicks Sixers, I think I would go Knicks in 6 if they are a serious team. However, I'm so happy and glad for the Sixers that they passed Celtics. They beat the Celtics. Thank God. Wolves Spurs is an interesting series because all of a sudden Anthony Edwards is now questionable for game 1. Like, his injury looked bad. That right knee hyperextension looked pretty rough. I didn't think that he would play in the next series. But he might be playing as soon as game 1, so who knows? But honestly, I would still pick the Spurs to win. If Ant really does come back and play, maybe I'll say Spurs in 6 if Ant doesn't come back, or if he does come back and he's struggling like he was a bit in the Denver series. I could see the Spurs winning in 5. However, I'll stick to Spurs in 6 because I gotta respect that Minnesota Timberwolves and their defense. I think obviously Wemby is another stratosphere in terms of how you defend him. But Rudy, McDaniels, they got guys. I'm very interested to see that matchup. And Thunder Lakers, you know what, Lakers, thank you for blowing up the Rockets, but it's gonna be OKC in 4. Unless we get a vintage LeBron game in there, I don't see them winning a game. So yeah, honestly, first round, this was one of the best first rounds in a while. I feel like we always say the playoffs exceeds our expectations. And like I said, I've said many times, the first 2 days of the playoffs, it felt like, oh man, this might be kind of wraps. It might be kind of boring. It might be kind of predictable. Turns out the Nuggets, the Rockets, the Celtics, all lose. The Magic go up 3-1 against the Pistons. Pistons come back from that, win in Game 7. The Raptors push the Cavaliers to 7 games. Pretty entertaining first round. I don't know what to tell you. Second round, I'm feeling the same way as I did. I feel like it might be chalk, like the Knicks, Spurs, OKC, and Pistons. Cavs. Honestly, that could be interesting. But Pistons, I feel like should win that. However, you can never predict too much. However, I will say OKC and Spurs are 1000% going to the next round. We need to see that matchup. That will be the real finals. And then in the East, I don't know, it could get chippy. Joel, what do you got for us? Um Cavaliers, what do you got for us? Pistons, what do you got for us? Is anybody going to stand a chance against OKC or the Spurs? I'm going to say no. I'm going to say one of those two teams will win, and honestly, it'll probably be OKC. But yeah, man, we just got to see. We still got another full month of this. Round 2 starts tomorrow. Take care.